What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about the story of Mortal Kombat 1 and go over my positives and negatives. I mentioned this in the review and said the third act of the game, the final couple chapters, things really fell apart for me liking it. Also, really quick before I get into this video, I do just want to shout out WB Games for providing me a code for this game. Just want to kind of get it out there early. Obviously, that has no impact on what I'm about to say because we're going to talk about both the positives and negatives. But I will say this, regardless of everything, and just to kind of throw it out there, I know that opinions seem to be rather split on this game. So I have respect for you if you say this is one of the better stories and you like the story. That is totally fine. I've actually said overall I do like it. I think I love maybe the first half, the first 60% of it. I think it does an amazing job with kind of character stories that we'll go over. We'll go over some of those examples in this video, but I do respect you if you say that you love it. As long as you respect me, we are cool. Overall, I think this is the weakest story. I've said this before on the last four. So you think of MK9 through this game. I know 11 is very, very divisive. And again, I totally get that. I totally respect that. I can stand by some of the bigger decisions made in that game over some of the bigger decisions made in this game. I think that's maybe the best way of saying it. So let's go through some positives and negatives. Because like I said, overall, first 65% of the game, it's really the Melina chapter when you attack Shang Tsung and you figure out who the person is that is trying to change kind of the destinies of these two, right? Liu Kang made them one way, and then you have this character, which, I mean, they kind of make it seem like it's going to be Chronica again, which is like, holy God, and then obviously it's revealed to be Shang Tsung. But I would say before that stuff happens, I was right along with the story of this game. So, well, what is the story? Let's kind of go through again some of the positives first, and then we'll get into the negatives. I think a lot of the character moments in this game are extremely, extremely good. And although it starts slow, it's trying to build this universe, literally build a new universe where Raiden isn't the Raiden that we know. And Kung Lao is maybe kind of, right? Liu Kang is obviously a bit different. And, trying to just kind of build everything together. I think a lot of these characters are extremely, extremely good. One thing I didn't even mention in my review is the acting. I think acting, besides Megan Fox, who I thought is just as bad, if you've seen the clips online of her, if you haven't played this game, she is just as bad as you think, which is sad because I think she does have talent. I think she's shown it in the past. I think Natara is not a good character in terms of at least the acting there, but beyond her, I think everybody does an incredible job. The only thing I'd say outside of Natara was I was actually thrown through a loop because I started to really, really like the voice actor of Raiden, who I've talked before, being the voice of Ansem from Kingdom Hearts. And I always recognized the voice, but I could never kind of pinpoint who the guy was. And then when Raiden shows up towards the end of here and he starts talking, both the dark version of him and then just the normal, I guess, Titan version, it's not the same voice actor, at least from what I can tell. It sounds nothing like Raiden of the past couple games. So that really threw me through a loop. But I overall really like the cast. I really like the acting. And some of the standouts here, I mentioned this to a friend of mine, Baraka. Baraka, holy God, I thought he was incredible. I really like what this game did overall, I would say, with villains. And I would throw in one other example with Baraka, and then also Reptile. Those two are awesome. And I think maybe Baraka, just because we really, he's kind of gone back and forth in the past. And, again, having played MK9 up in the last, I'd say, month and a half, I like Baraka quite a bit. I actually like him as a fighter quite a bit. And, he's kind of this throwaway villain, right? Him, Kano, they never really win any fight, period, right? They're always kind of losers, but they use, their armies to kind of, gain influence. And, for Baraka in this game to be, even though he's still the monster, right, to be way more humanized and to help out and to want to help out. And then Reptile, right from the jump he's being forced to do this. Shang Tsung has his family, and it's kind of like a control situation. Then you find out that Shang Tsung has killed the family so long ago. It's not even funny how long ago. So Reptile has been doing this basically for free and without knowing for an incredibly long time. I think that's where this game shines. I think those two are fantastic. I think Sindel and Katana and Melina, I love their relationship, and I love what they did. I think Melina is actually a huge standout. And although, like I said, the game starts to fall fall apart in the major decision making on Melina's chapter, it really has nothing to do with her. So she is absolutely a standout. I like this version of Liu Kang. I mean, we see it a little bit in MK11, I guess at the very, very, very end. Aftermath a little bit as well, right? But this is the full game. You get this kind of, he's not cocky, but you know how powerful he is, and he's actually very humble, right? Like, he wants to be the protector of Earthrealm. He doesn't want to be, and he's not anymore, right? The keeper of time. I like it, and I like the reset. I like forming this army again, or forming, I guess, a collection of heroes. I like that Mortal Kombat, the actual tournament, lasts like for like 15 minutes. You face a couple, you have dinner that night, you face a few more the next day, and it's over. And Earthrealm wins Mortal Kombat. I think that's incredibly, incredibly smart. I mean, right after that, maybe the game starts to take some hits. Look, this game has similar problems with other games as well, where it is hard to consistently give characters reasons to fight each other, especially specific characters, right? Because you got to have a reason for why maybe a good guy and another good guy would fight each other. And oftentimes, through these games, it's through a misunderstanding, okay? And this game does it as well. So the whole idea of, well, we're going to send you guys kind of undercover for Shang Tsung, and then they get themselves into trouble, right? Because they stop the Melina kind of like surgery thing that's going on, and everybody's all messed up. And then you have Shang Tsung kind of working from the background saying, see, I told you, like, these guys were going to do this and that. And, you know, it's believable enough. I don't think that's a big weakness of this game. Again, I think, honestly, it's very in line with the other stuff. I actually kind of like that. Even as things start to fall apart in the trust, there's still the talk in the game, of like General Shao saying, well, Sindel is a person of peace. She's not going to immediately rush to war. So it's like, cool. She's not immediately going to attack just because of like one misunderstanding. Now, technically, the war does get started. Like, she does do it eventually, but it's not, I guess, right away. But I would say throughout that entire thing, I'm totally good with it. And I like the idea of the mystery. I guess the big thing for me is when you have to kind of answer these mysterious questions that you've been building up to. So in this game, the mysterious question to build up to is, who's the person, right? Who is the person that is changing Quan Chi and Shang Tsung's destiny, basically, in Liu Kang's timeline? And it being Shang Tsung of Aftermath's ending. And I'll say this. The idea to make that person Shang Tsung, I actually like. I actually really respect and like the fact that they tried, and they did, they made both endings of Mortal Kombat 11, I guess the Aftermath DLC, they made them both canon in this universe. That is really cool, because I've been playing catch up for a long time of trying to like learn the lore, learn the story of these games, and I played them all, watched Aftermath because I didn't buy that one, but did all this stuff, and then in trying to get ready for Mortal Kombat 1, it's like, okay, from everything that everybody expected, NetherRealm picked, obviously, the Liu Kang ending, right? The Shang Tsung thing, that was fun to kind of throw in there, but there's a canon ending of MK11, and that's Liu Kang's ending, and that's what this game is built off of. And I think everybody kind of fell in line with that. I fell in line with it. So to find out that they literally made canon both endings, I think is actually really clever and really cool. Now, as soon as they do that, right, immediately, and I thought this, as soon as they do that, you think, okay, so multiverse, right? Like, we're going to be pulling characters from different timelines. Also, the fact that Shang Tsung had said, like, it took him forever to even figure out there were two timelines, and then Liu Kang just goes and plucks out an entire freaking army, by the end of the game, of hundreds of different timelines. That's a big jump, and that's too big of a jump for me. I guess I'll get there, but I guess that's where things started to break down. So I'm not actually upset at all that the mysterious figure was Shang Tsung and that they made canon both endings of the 11th game, okay? I actually kind of like that. I think that's kind of clever. It's pretty much everything that follows. So I guess his plot for the hourglass, that stuff I'm fine. I'd say it's more of a specific smaller thing where, Liu Kang is going to be looking out for these titans, right, to kind of bring them in. Katana's there, and then all of a sudden, like, he just gets Raiden and Kung Lao, and there's, like, no explanation. They're just there. It's not even considered, I think, a really big deal in the cutscene that they're standing there. To me, it was a big deal. It's like, oh, my God, Raiden's back, right? I guess you already saw Dark Raiden before it, but, okay, you got the team together. And then, like, Shang Tsung's plan just ends. I think this is where it really falls apart, okay? When he attacks the hourglass, he has a goal in mind. And that goal is shattered in that one chapter, I guess. I think it is chapter 14. It's the Liu Kang chapter. It just gets destroyed, okay? You beat him. You beat him in terms of the story there. And then you say, okay, well, backup plan. I guess that's my problem. His backup plan is so quick, and it's basically, well, we're going to retreat, but then we're going to get another big army, and we're just going to kind of attack again. And then you go to chapter 15, and it's just an all-out war. Now, I've said this in my review without spoiling it. Now I can actually get into it. I think the idea of the different characters from the different universes is really, really cool. I like fighting them and learning, too, that, like, there's a pretty big roster of characters. There are some overlap. Like, I've played the ending 3 different times with 3 different characters. You're actually going to fight different characters throughout it, but some will repeat. Some will repeat. But it is really, really cool to just see all the different variations of these characters. And not only that, not only in visual, right, that, okay, this is this character meshed with this character, but they're fighting. You say, oh my God, okay, well now I have to deal with Shao Kahn, but then he's going to have like this ability along with his normal stuff, right? That is insanely, insanely cool. But at the same time, okay, I'll say this. I almost think of it as not necessarily like dangling the keys, but it's almost their excuse, how I interpret it, as look at all these cool things we're doing. Don't think about how we're doing it. That's personally to me how it works. And I would say, I think people had those similar issues with MK11. If you're going to have a problem with MK11, I almost feel like you would have a problem here as well. Look, I know these games have these fantasy elements, and they have these really big jumps in either logic, or you have to kind of give them some things here or there. But that, to me, that was actually the biggest jump. For as crazy as 11 got, and even 10 got a little crazy too, you know, this game, I think just the jump of, he assembles an army in like 10 seconds. Shang Tsung leaves, and immediately you just have 1,000 different variations of characters from all these different timelines. It's insane. I think it's too much. And the war is cool, and how they did it, where, you know, you're going to run up a couple stairs, fight an enemy, have a cutscene, run up again, have a cutscene, fight another enemy, run up again. It's very cinematic. It's very big. It's very bold in that way. But again, I think I would simplify it to say, it's so crazy and it's so cool, but then if you go a little bit deeper, you say, well, what's going on? Why did we do this? Really, I guess the thing is, why did it happen so fast? The jump to that was just so insane, where, like, I guess it's clear that they just wanted to have a big war, right? They wanted to have characters of different variations of each other fight against, right? Like good people, bad versions of them, right? Just attack in this huge cinematic cutscene. That's what they wanted. And they didn't really care how you got there. And I think that, to me, is the really big jump. On top of, I mean, it's a little confusing. It's a little confusing who's who, because, like, you can pick Sindel, but Sindel's dead. So what you're doing is you're picking Sindel, who is, like, her version, the good version that we've experienced through the base game, but it's her in a different universe. Same thing with General Shao, right? Like, he's dead. So you're picking the bad guy, but like Raiden, so he went to a different universe. He found another general. He didn't find a Shao Kahn. He found a general, and he convinced him in like maybe a quarter of a second to come in and follow him, right? And like, to me, it's so much. Again, it's another thing where they want you to pick any of these characters, but there's really no logic behind it. Also, all of those characters are not the characters in that base universe, because they get sent back to their universe at the end of the cutscene. That was another thing that kind of threw me through a loop, where it's the Liu Kang that's with you in those fights at the end of the game. He's the Liu Kang of the base universe we've been playing as. So when he sends the person back, and that person being us, the fighter we chose for the 15th chapter, even though that character makes it seem like it's the one from that universe, it's not. Because of Sindel, because of Shang Tsung, because he dies later on, right? So all these characters, they're the same versions of themselves, but they're the same versions in a different timeline that Liu Kang brought in. And then you get sent back, and then Liu Kang goes to, you know, his universe, and everything's okay by the end of the game. Extremely confusing, especially because I chose to do my first time that I beat the game, beat the ending, I chose Liu Kang. So it was Liu Kang. I couldn't even figure out which was which. I wasn't really, because one didn't have the shirt, one had the white shirt. The white shirt one is the base version of him. So it just kind of became too much. Again, I think it was just spectacle to do a spectacle. And look, again, like, trust me, I get it, I guess, to some extent. I think it worked in terms of holy, like, my jaw dropped. It's like, oh my God, this is epic. This is nuts. Seeing these different fighters that, again, are matchups of different characters, like, put together, it's extremely cool. But, like, the jump, because here's the thing. I mean, we spent the first half of the video talking about the positives. The game is actually, like, semi-grounded. The fact of Baraka being one of the best characters in this game should tell you that. Melina and the disease and her kind of like fighting that and wanting to be this warrior, but also wanting to be respected. And, you know, she shows her face when she transforms. She's not going to have like the people's backing. The thing I think is the weakness of this game is at its best, it's a character-driven story. Liu Kang is extremely good. Melina, Baraka, Reptile, all these Sindel, all these characters are extremely good. It's character-driven. It's a little slow, but it's because it's focusing so much on creating a new universe with new versions of these characters, even if they eventually get to where they're like Kenshi going blind, right? Like, even though you get there, it's still somewhat of a different version, so you have to kind of build that up. That's like 60% of the game, and it's extremely good. And then when you jump to just full-on spectacle and just all of this like mindless multiversal action, it's such a contrast. And I think maybe that's the best way of saying it. It's such a contrast from what makes most of the game good, and then it just kind of and it doesn't matter. Characters don't matter at the end of the game. Characters are dying. Characters are from different timelines, so it actually doesn't even matter. The katana, was she the Titan one, and did she die there? Like, what in God's name even happened with that ending? So you don't really care. None of that stuff really mattered. And I also feel like it diminished Shang Tsung, where it's like you're not even that impactful of a villain because you just have this huge CGI army now, and we're going to be facing them. You're not even that big of a deal. And honestly, you kind of take them out relatively easily. Like, it's not all that much that you have to do to take these guys out. So that's what I would say about that's, I think, putting into words, making it, you know, almost 20 minutes here. I think this gives me the chance to kind of walk myself through. I've said before, I think I like the overall story, but the ending, I don't like. Flat out, I don't like it. I would say it's maybe a good story, but nothing more than that. I personally believe it's the weakest of the four, like MK9 through this, which is all part of basically the same universe, right? And I also think this kind of diminishes 11 because it's like, so there's Titans of basically everybody. Everybody becomes a Titan. Like, Katana somehow beat Chronica. Like, that's basically what they're saying. There's a timeline in which Katana or Kung Lao beats Chronica, which is nuts because I thought they're like only Liu Kang or maybe Raiden would be powerful enough, but you would think it's like the most powerful characters, not Katana and all them. And okay, so they are, and also the fact that, again, Shang Tsung took him forever to figure out there were two timelines. Well, actually, there's infinite timelines of infinite amount of these characters, and it took him that long. It took him hundreds of years to figure out there was just even one more, and he couldn't figure out there was infinite. So those kind of jumps in logic, to me, did not work when most of the game kind of relied on being a little bit more grounded than we're used to. So there you go. Let me know what you think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.